Welcome to Message Reveal. Message Reveal identifies a vibe, a message, or a story told through lyrics of a song. Well, you guys, you know what we do every Monday. I can't wait to tell you about my special guest. But before we do so, I have to tell you just a few things, and I only mean a few things that my special guest is associated with. One, he's a father, he's a husband, and he's a son. We love family, so we big up that. Two, he's a business owner, and we'll find out more about his business. And last but definitely not least, he is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. So you guys, please put your hands together and welcome my brother. I'm calling him my brother, Mr. DwayneMurray.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I think that is the only time I've ever been introduced and the best. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I have to say, I always say thank you so much for saying yes to me and having the ability to come on. I appreciate that. So before we get started, I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
What makes you tick? What makes you boil? What gets your blood going?
In life?
Period.
For me, I guess, my biggest driving force since I became a father has been just wanting to provide a better life for my children and give them different experiences than what I had. I think I live my life big on creating moments with them and giving them the opportunities to just see and experience life differently. So, that is a big driving motivator for me. Another thing for me is that I kind of realize life is short. Even though the days are long, but the years are short is what I say. And so I always seize an experience, seize a moment, seize the chances to be around family and friends, people who are friends who became family. And that's kind of like, for me, I'm always, trying to find what is the next big, moment for me. Yep.
I like that. I like that. I like that you include your children to give them an experience because we know that we talked about it before our pre-interview. We talked about exposure and engagement. I believe they are connected. I believe they're the first line of learning and communicating. So I
Yes.
love that you add that for your children.
Yeah, that's always been huge for me. And so, coming from where we come from, that's the number one thing I like to do is create a moment, create an experience. That's all you got with you. That's all you can take with you.
Yes, yes. And if I'm not mistaken, you have three, one girl and two boys, or?
I have two girls, one son.
Okay.
So Brooklyn, who's my oldest, she's 12. Carter, who's 7, he'll be 8 next month. And then I have Olivia, my COVID baby. Olivia Soul, she is 3. And she's definitely the baby. I tell you that. When I say the baby, she understands it, knows it, utilizes it, leverages it, makes certain that everyone knows that she's here.
Well, that's wonderful. And before you get off, if you don't mind mentioning your wife's name, your beautiful wife.
Yeah, my wife is Melissa Flores Murray, and she is a wonderful mother of these 3 beautiful kids of ours, and she holds it down. She tries to keep us all huddled together. It's like gathering cats sometimes, but without pulling her hair out, she manages to keep us together.
No, I definitely understand that. Women are wonderful with making sure we have that team together and giving everybody that little bit of what they need. But don't you forget to give her some of what she needs as well.
Oh yeah. I try to always. She lets me know what she needs. So
yeah, we're good. We're good. I like
She's
that.
very vocal. She's very vocal.
I like that. I definitely like that. So let's talk about one of my favorite things, music. Yes. And I say music has turned me all the way out in a good way, So can you provide a lyric to a song that has either blessed you, provided perspective, or distracted you. But before you answer,
Lyric, right? Mhm.
before you answer, there's rules to this. If you can sing, I need you to sing your throat box out.
Ain't got about that. No singing. No singing.
Well,
Carry a tune.
if you can rap, I need you to come hard in the paint. But if you can't do either or, I need you to say it with passion. I needed to give it, you provide it with heart and tell your part of the lyric. So, do you think you can either provide a song that, or lyrics to a song, either blessing, distraction, or perspective?
Yeah. So, for perspective, one of the songs that I use oftentimes if I'm going into, a meeting or a business meeting, I'm going to engage a client and I feel kind of, I feel like, sometimes imposter syndrome sets in
Mm-hmm.
or you feel like that it's intimidating. So I'll cut on, I know it's not a popular person, but I'll cut on R. Kelly's The World's Greatest.
Ooh, now listen, nothing wrong with that. I like that.
And so he cites in there, he says, I am a giant. I am an eagle. I am, and he talks about if anybody asks you who I am, stand up tall, look them in the face and say, and those words is just a self affirmation of preparing my mental and my emotional state that I am enough, and I'm walking into this room, powerful, head up, chin up, chest out, to kind of go about conquering what I need to conquer for that day, or build what I need to build, or establish what I need to establish. And so I use that song on repeat when something's huge about to kind of go. So that's the one that I can really get behind and really focus in on.
I love it. We have to take what they said, chew the meat and spit out the bones. I know you were kind of reserved with getting it because it was R. Kelly, but that is a wonderful song. And I love that you can provide that backdraft to what it does for you,
Yeah, the lyrics are powerful in that song.
Yes.
And it's a way in which I think everyone needs to have that that type of mind frame about their lives, and not from a egotistical standpoint, but from a standpoint of pride,
Yes.
self belief. So yeah, that is definitely one. That is definitely one.
Well, I love it. I love it. And where you're giving somebody in the audience the ability to say, you know what, I really love that song. And maybe I can take that song back and make it my own. I believe everyone should have a theme song. That's just me personally. I have a theme song. It may change daily, but you need that energy of a song to just, take you to the next level.
Yeah, that is my theme song. I told Melissa, I says, when I die, you put that song on with my video.
I love it. I definitely love that. So, as I introduced you at the very beginning, I did mention about your business. If you can tell us a little bit about your business and how long you've been in the business and what was the impetus for you to even go down that road?
So I'm a State Farm insurance agent. I've been doing it now going on 9 years. And I did it back in '08 as well. I actually took the time to actually take about a year out during the whole recession and actually learn the business with another agent. So for me, backdrop story. I wanted to be a State Farm insurance agent at a time, and I didn't necessarily have the funds. I had a short sale, foreclosure, whatnot. And so I kind of had to let it go. And so I went back into corporate America and was working. And then, I lost my first wife. She passed away. And it was in that moment that I realized that we had, her and I had buried so many dreams that we had together because she had passed away so tragically, so suddenly. And I was left with, Brooklyn. And so it was it hit me that, all the things that we say we want to do, we don't get a chance to do them all because we put off and we say tomorrow, tomorrow. And further, it kind of resonated that time is unknown. Today is all we have. This moment is what we have. So I kind of took that, and I always said, at the time I was, I wasn't really married. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I said, I'm just going to be a single dad. I said, all that matters is the time that I have with my daughter. And as long as I can put a roof over her head, clothes on our back, and food on our table, everything else doesn't matter. A death like that really strips away all the worldly things, the possessions, the image, and frankly, for me, the fear of becoming an entrepreneur at that point, because I had jumped out there before, but never fully. That fear gets stripped away, right? Because now you realize the only thing that's finale on this plane is death, right? So now everything else is like, well, it don't matter, right? Because only finality is that. Everything else is going to come and go, right? And so you kind of strip that down to the bare bones. And I said, you know what? What could be something I could do that could still be an impact to help people in their lives and give me the time and opportunity to be the father that I would like to be for Brooklyn. So, went back to State Farm and I kind of talked with them. And they kind of recruited me, and we always kept in touch over the years. And so while I opened up, and the beautiful thing about in our agency is we have a huge focus and emphasis on life insurance because, personally, when my wife passed, we only had enough to bury her, right? And then I had to go back to work. So what I kind of understood was that if I could have took, a year off or 2 years off, I would have. If I could have, if she could have, we could have put more towards the life insurance to put our daughter, make sure she was set up in the future, we would have. And so I think the great deal of benefit that I have in my practice is we can actually help people plan and prepare for that. And so it gives a service, it gives a value to in people's lives. And it also gives me back value. And the fact that I could do something that helps out people, helps out in the community when we need so, but it also gives me what I need, which is the freedom and time and flexibility to be the father that I desire to be and have the time that I to do what I like to do.
Yeah. I definitely like that you put it in their perspective, because right now you did two things. You're talking to someone that has put their dreams on defer. They're sitting back and you're giving them the perspective, like right now, it's all the time you have. Don't stop, move forward. And number two, you're giving someone the perspective of make sure you have your house in order. The things that you think you might not need, you need. So you're talking to two sets of individuals, but hopefully this message will benefit them.
Yes, it is definitely, you hit it right on the head. It's a thing of live life now. That the worrying about what other people think and say, you gotta let all that go. That's just that's not self-serving.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help you at all. And then on the flip side of it, yeah, definitely house in order because you don't know, you never know. Even I'm right now, and I was thinking about it the other day. I was telling my staff, I was like, you know what? With the third kid and the current lifestyle, I probably need to, go reevaluate some more things because I got to make certain, if tomorrow's my last, I got to plan out for the rest of their lives because I've been on the other side of it. And so often I think we take it for granted. We think everything is hunky dory, and then it's too late.
Yeah.
It's too late. We get older, and now we have a cancer, or it's too late. Now we're not working, and that policy at work is not there no more, and now I'm laid off, and now I'm disabled, and that becomes snowball effect, and woulda, coulda, shoulda set in. So I try not to, I try to not, live life where I don't have woulda, coulda, shouldas.
Yeah. That's definitely true. And if I can say, your first wife passing, that was probably my first shock. I've had many people pass in my life, friends, foe, But for me, literally just having a conversation and then it was gone. And I remember you saying, Hallema, she's gone. And to me, I didn't process what that was. So that situation has pushed me in different ways to make sure you move forward. And unfortunately, but that love that you have for a person, you said, hey, you have to move forward. You have to do what you need to do. So I hope you didn't mind me bringing that up, but it was a real changing process in my life.
Yeah, I think in many people's lives. I mean, I was having a cigar the other day with a fraternity brother of mine, and he said, there was certain points in his own life that were distinguished, and he says, I'll never forget seeing you in the hospital. He says that moment, he said, changed my life forever. And so many people that her life impacted while she was living.
Yes.
And then in her passing, how many lives have been impacted? And I think, in many ways, her life and the value of what she contributed, even in her death, is still living on. I think she's changed. That one life shifted so many other people's lives, and it changed better. And it was very powerful. And so I think right now we're trying to change medicine, obviously, but to make an even lasting impact for her legacy. But yeah, it was definitely it was life changing. I mean, definitely, world changing for us.
Yes, absolutely. With that being said, I say this on my podcast anytime someone has passed on, they passed on a physical death, but a spiritual death if we don't say their complete name. So if you don't mind saying her complete whole name for everyone.
Yeah, LaQuinta Rosette Whitley Murray.
Yes. My sister. Yes. So let's talk about music again. Let's talk about some fun stuff in music. Can you tell me or identify a particular song or artist that you had the opportunity to purchase without anyone's influence, meaning you received some money for birthday, Christmas, and you had the choice? Not no one said, oh, I got this for you. You chose what you wanted. Can you identify a song or artist?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I was an 80s baby, right? So, for me growing up, Michael Jackson was the king. So, having watched and danced like Michael Jackson growing up as a kid. I mean, at my mom's wedding, I danced as Michael Jackson to Bad. Michael was it, and so I remember going out and buying the Bad album. And so that was the one. Thriller, I don't know how I got Thriller. I don't know if my mama had bought it. I remember watching the movie, the video, the short film.
Were you scared?
Yeah. I was scared, but I was more entertained. So I'd have nightmares about it, but I was still entertained by it. But that was huge for me. Was the Bad album. That was one of the first early music purchases that I had. So I love Michael. I love his artistry. Who he was, artist was profound. I think he was one of one. Definitely someone would never ever. He'll be duplicated, but he was a singular artist that took all these different influences and created a whole new thing, and I loved it.
Yes. Funny that you mentioned Michael. I just saw, I think it was on HBO. They had like the Bad album. I don't know if it was 30, 40 years or whatever the year of celebration, but to hear the artists talk about him and the movements and them slowing it down, he had a spiritual connection with everything he did. And he talked about in one particular, it was someone interviewing him, asked him, how did you come up with the songs? How did you come up with? And he said he was almost afraid to say it was his own because it was just spiritually there and he just pulled it in and created it. And I thought that was so wonderful to have that spiritual connection, but he had to have it to be who he was.
Yeah, he had to. He had to. I mean, on that album, it was, great songs, great lyrics, great artistry he created. One of my favorite songs is "Man in the Mirror." Uh,
Yes.
uh, that was on the backside. I remember on the backside of the tape, it had a white tape with the black writing on it back in those days, the cassette tape. So that was beautiful. Yeah, so
Yes.
love Michael.
That's so funny. I don't know if you know who Antonis is. Do you know Antonis Pullum? I
Oh,
had him I had him on, and that was one of his songs that he actually came up with, was Man in the Mirror. And I
yeah,
think it's such a reflective song. It will never ever ever go out of style to me, because we always need to look at ourselves first before we do anything else. You know, a lot of time we're pointing, they did this, they did this, they did this, but what have you done? What position have you put yourself in?
yeah, yeah, and it definitely is a song about self accountability that's being kind of woven in there. Uh, that you don't quite understand, and when he was, when whoever wrote the song with Michael, it was kind of like one of those self-reflective moments,
Yeah.
and I think we all have to have that self-accountable, self-reflective, to make certain that we are being a change in the world.
Yeah, definitely that. Oh, that's another. Well, is that a part? Make that change. You got to
Yeah,
make that change.
yeah,
Have to play off that lyric. Have to play off
yeah,
that lyric.
yeah.
So
It's so
let's.
powerful that John Mayer came back with a song, "Waiting on the World to Change."
Yes, I
Yeah, yeah,
like that one.
yeah.
Yes, that's a good one. Yes,
So
that's a good one. These, the music, it has no boundaries, and it can just take you, and it can pull you into the future. It can pull you into the past. It can give you different perspective. Like, it's some songs you'll play as a child, but then you become an adult and it means something different. So playing on that energy, can you identify a song that you sung the whole time as a child? And I mean, you loved it. And then you became an adult. You're like, wait 1 minute.
yeah.
That's not what it means. Can you identify a song?
You know, yeah. So there's a lot of songs like that, right? Because as a child, you don't quite you listen to the songs, you're walking around, you're saying lyrics and things. I mean, I can just tell you this. I always laugh about this whole time. So I came up in an era, what I call it the golden era of hip hop, right? The golden era. It was right in the pocket where you had NWA. You came out of the whole Grandmaster Flash and the Cavs and those guys, and you moved into a time where it was more reflective of the life at a harsher level, right? So you had NWA, right?
Yes.
You had Dr. Dre, right? The Chronic, and so for me, my first rap album that I had was Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, right?
Mm.
So as a child, right, you got the album. The name of the album is Doggy Style, right? There's no, so to me, I'm not even comprehending what it is that he's talking. It's just called Doggy Style. So my mom,
Yes.
what the heck? What do you mean you want an album called Doggy Style? I'm like, you know what I mean? So, and so here I am. I'm walking around, and at that time, we knew every lyric, right? On every song, you got in your Walkman every single day. You're not even knowing and comprehending the lyrics and things that you're saying, you're reciting over and over. And so I always laugh. I was like, if my son, and I had that album, I mean, that album came out in 92, right? So I was 11, right? I probably would shit bricks if my son was walking around singing Doggy Style as an album. You know what I mean? I'll be like, oh my, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? I'm like, so I think that was one that at the time I didn't quite comprehend all the lyricism, I didn't even know, I didn't know what chronic was when they were talking about, chronic. I didn't even know what that was,
Me either.
and so, here I am and all these things start to come in and get introduced into life, at a younger age. And then, of course it builds from there. Now I know, but then I didn't quite understand and comprehend any of that. To me, it was
Yes.
cool to fit in, oh yeah, I got that Doggy Style out, and it was a different time. So yeah,
Yes, that's a good one. And you know what? I don't think anybody has brought up Snoop. So we gonna give Snoop
oh
a
yeah,
big hand. And
yeah,
even though he was who he was, he has really elevated and went through different stages. Like I can say we grew up with him and we can see the changes in him now. I think one time
yeah.
he did a gospel out rap album.
He did. He did. It's I mean, you got to remember, the music in our music is imitates life, right? And so that was the life. And so now, obviously, as he's grown, right, his music is grown. And I think, yeah, that's how I think he made that. I mean, he was 19. You know what I mean? So at a 19-year-old mind, that's all you got. I mean, I look at lyrics from Tupac, right? All
Mhm.
we have from Tupac is at the age of 24,
Yes.
right? We don't have 34. We don't have 44. So I think he put out a lot of work, a lot of material. You know what I'm saying? But that whole me against the world, song. You know what I mean? And then you still have hit 'em up. You know what I mean? So you
Yes.
still got they were young. So you see him kind of grow and progress, and you know that's the benefit of life, right? We
Yeah.
have the opportunity to. Some people just get old, but they don't grow up.
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I hit the pause button when it's a bar. That's a bar. So I need you to say that again because that was some wisdom. Say that
Yeah.
one more time.
Some people just get old, and some people grow up. There's a difference.
Ooh, ooh, talk about it. Give us a little bit more
So,
on that.
growing up meaning that as the Bible says, as a child, you acted like a child, but as you became a man, you started to do man things. And I think the benefit I like to have in my life and in my friends and in my circles is that we are growing up. We're helping to grow each other up. We're progressing and we're emotionally developing. We're having fruitful conversations about who we are as men, women, and where we would like to see our lives go and travel. And we have discussions around developing children, and we bounce ideas off each other. And then you have people who just grow old and they
Yes.
set in their ways and never evolve, never want to take on what's new, and to have that self development component. And so two different distinctions there, and I think it's very important that in your life you kind of understand if you're growing old, or or you getting wiser, or you just getting older.
Yes. I
So
love that. Oh my gosh, that was, I mean, you hit the ball out of the park with that one. But if I can, one thing you said right there, and I think it's so necessary, especially for men, you said something. You said emotional development.
yeah, yeah,
So many times men will say, "Oh, I'm not emotional." It's not necessary. We should all have emotional. I think sometimes it's so high that men pull it back instead of being very transparent on how they feel. It doesn't have to be overly emotional. It should be a balance. Can
yeah,
you just talk about that just a little because you hinted to that?
yeah. I spent a lot of time doing emotional intelligence trainings, and doing it for myself. And so we do show emotions when we're angry as men. Right? We have no problem showing the anger. I think where I have, as a man, I can't speak for all men, is that I've learned now to actually show the vulnerability of when we're just hurt, or when we're disappointed, or when we're sad. And to, I think, as men, especially in my culture, in my experience, it's not okay to be those things, right? We believe it's not okay, and I believe it is okay, right? That is part of
Yes.
life. I think it's not okay to sit in there, to sit in anyone so long. So, you know, as they say, you have your pity party, and then you bury it, right? You deal with it, you face it. I think for me, what I've had to learn is to actually face that emotion, face it, accept it, embrace it, say that it's real, and then be able to bury it, move on past it, and now get into action about it. as men, we don't often do that enough to actually say this hurt my feelings.
Yes.
Oh, that's like a girl feeling. It's young. That's what you're taught, right? Don't tough. Be tough. Don't say it hurt. It didn't hurt. Well, it did hurt, and
Yes.
say it hurt. And you have your heart broke by a girl instead of your buddy. Oh man, shake that off. Don't that shouldn't hurt you, man. You know what I'm saying? This and that. Well, then now you start to turn your back towards women. You become harsh and brutal. When instead you should say, "Hey, that hurt. That hurt my heart. That hurt my feelings," and have somebody around you and say, "Yeah, that is life, and that's going to occur." And let that feeling sit there with you, see what it feels like, and then you move on. So, yeah, I definitely think as far as men, we definitely have to be mindful of our emotional state.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. You're talking to some young man that may want to enter into that lane, but has stopped because the people around them saying, no, you must be strong. And being strong is a process of also being vulnerable and telling your story and releasing so you can learn to fight another day.
It does. And being strong. So the equivalent of being strong is a saying of saying like it takes more strength to be courageous than it does to just be fearful.
Yes.
Because courage is that I have fear, but I move forward in spite of fear. That takes stronger, right? Because now you're fearful, but you have courage to go through it. That is a stronger emotional state than you just saying, I'm scared, I'm not going to do anything.
Yes. Yes.
So that's a difference. And I think that as young men need to understand, having the courage to go through with some of these things and expressing that's real strength.
And we won't just say young men, we'll say men, period, because it's been men that are what we would call older men. They have been emotionally starved and they never knew it was an avenue to express themselves. So we want to encounter. Yes.
Yeah.
And hopefully this will sit with someone that needs this wisdom.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
So let's talk about you being a part of your fraternity. What was the catalyst to say, that is where I want to be? What brought you in, and what has been your overall principles that have took you to who or made you who you are now, being a part of that organization?
So, I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, Fraternity Incorporated. And, when I was a young man in high school, actually ninth grade, Lawrence Weekly, at the time, he wasn't city councilman, he wasn't an elected official at all. I think he was working for Gary Reese. And he had started a youth organization, him and Michael Garrett, called the Kappa Leadership League. And in that time in North Las Vegas, everyone kind of lived within certain neighborhoods. It wasn't huge like it is now. We, as African Americans, we all lived in a certain pocket within the city. And so, part of being a Kappa man, right, is community service. And their Kappa Leadership League was, across the nation, but we didn't have one here. So they established this program, a guide right program, in which they would go back in and they would mentor, young African American men and Latino men, because we do have Latino men that were in the program very early on, and mentor them and basically groom them to become distinguished gentlemen in the culture in the city. So here I am, a young man, flag down Larry, and luckily enough, I interviewed. You have to interview then. So you have to show up at the West Las Vegas Library on the west side. The line would be around the corner, all the way back up to Doolittle. And
Stop it.
Yes, talking midsummer, shirt and tie, resume in hand, or some type of something, right? We didn't have resumes, we didn't know, but we had something in our hands, and you would interview. And they would sit there for 4 hours on a Sunday, interviewing young men. And so they could only take in like 20 every year. And so they took in, I made it through the interview process. And so here I am. And so, watching them, they exposed me to other Kappa men. We went on college tours. And that was the first time I got a chance to actually see a college. to understand what a college was, to see that it was possible, and to see people like myself who were going to college. You're at USC and you see, you know, African Americans walking around. You're like, oh, okay, this is you're not on the corner. You know, you're going to Bayou Classic and you're seeing these things, and so you kind of get collected around a certain group of individuals, and they become high achieving individuals, right? So they create an environment where academically you were competitive, and they at that time they would get your report cards and your progress reports and put it out. So everybody in the youth group knew what your grades were, and you didn't want to get teased for being a dum dum, right?
Oh, okay. That was very important.
Oh yeah, he put your GPA on blast, you know. And I don't know how he got it, but he would go to the schools and get your GPA and your report cards. So like, I don't know, like, you know, nowadays you can't get that, but back then he would get it. You know, there was no hiding nothing. You know, and when we got to go to colleges, I remember it was a huge ordeal between us and the Omega Gents and the Men of Tomorrow, which was the Alpha group, and the Phi Beta. How many scholarships everybody was getting, and what universities they were going to, and you know, we had a time where we were at the West Las Vegas Library, and we were applying through financial aid, and we were applying for colleges, and you know, printing out, you know, transcripts and doing that. So that whole movement inspired me, right? And so I got to college, and I was like, it's only natural that I progressed to this, and got to Mississippi Valley State, and that's where I pledged Zeta Zeta, the Death Row chapter, Mississippi Valley State of Kappa Alpha Psi, and so that was in spring 2001. And if it wasn't for those two gentlemen, I don't know where my life would have, you know, went off to, because I knew I wanted to be more, and I think all young men want to. But what lacks is, what is the steps to get there? What is the direction? How does one get there, right? So, you know, there's only a couple choices, right? Growing up in those times, it was, you know, you're on the corner, right? Because those guys show you a way, maybe a way better than what you have, or it's through music, right? A lot of guys go the music route, or through sports, right? And I went the sport route too. I took a football scholarship, but I had academics as well. So when football was done, which was very quickly, I realized I wasn't going pro. Now I don't. God didn't bless me with that. This dude is way too big and way too fast. I go back home, but I got back and you know, I did my degree in accounting and finance at UNLV. But you know, they showed me a different route, and those two guys, I mean, they teach you how to speak, you know, how to dress. They taught us a lot about having self-respect. How do your vernacular? You know, back in the day, you growing up, it's always, you know, cuz and what up, my nig, and your pants are sagging, because that's what we were around, right? But now he's like, let me show you this lawyer. Let me show you this doctor. You know, Judge Timothy Williams is a fraternity brother of ours, one of the oldest Black judges here in town. I remember sitting out at his house, right? We had a trip out to his house. And basically, he sat down in his living room. He says, you know, I forget the statistic, but it was a number. He said, in this room, one of you guys is going to be standing in front of me.
Wow.
He says, and I judge with the law. I don't judge by color and who I know. I judge by the law. He said, so it's your choice if you want to stand in front of me, or you guys can be men that stand beside me. And this time he had a huge house out in Green Valley, you know, coming up from the west side. We didn't see those type of deals. And that was very profound to me when he kind of said that, you standing beside me.
Yes.
Or you can be standing in front of me.
That's true.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'd much rather be beside you than standing in front of you, because he was very blunt about you know, the crime rates and the judicial rate and how the system would work. So that led me to be Kappa, man. So, you know, having that early on mentorship kind of was the Guide Right program, and it just fit, man. And thank God for it. Thank God for it.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, we're thankful. I probably wouldn't have never got a chance to meet you through that process. So I'm thankful for that as well. Can you identify a song that has pulled your spirit up? And what I mean by that, no one is around to encourage you. And I know you gave us a really good song at the very beginning. But it's one of those things when your spirit is super low, like something's happened, your mother's not there, your wife's not there, and you may be driving down the street and you're like, I need to have something to pull my spirit up. Can you identify a song that will pull it up and it just gives you a different outlook on life?
Yeah, for me, the one song is "More Than I Can Bear." You know,
Ooh,
and it's a gospel song, but it starts off, I've been through the valley, I've been through the rain, and but He'll never put more on me than I can bear.
yes.
And that song kind of, it just highlights that, even though, you know, Job said, even though you slay me, I still love you. I will still obey thee. I will still listen to thee. And so that's kind of like where, faith and flesh collide, right? Is that your flesh is, you've been slain because of the world that you're in and the unfairness of it and the hurt, right? But the faith is that, He'll never put more on you than you can bear, and so I was saying right on my office wall, so the will of God will not take you, where the grace of God will not protect you.
Ooh,
Right. So
ooh. I think you need to say that one more time because that was so right on.
So it says, the will of God will not take you where the grace of God will not protect you. And so, oftentimes, you're living through life and it blows. It feels like it's unfair, but He'll never put more in than you can bear, and
yes.
sometimes, I look at things, and the thing that always comes back to me sometimes is, the story of Joseph. And the biggest thing was, if God would have told Joseph what he would become, right? And told him what he had to go through, he never would have gone through it.
Hey, not just Joseph. I think a lot of us, if we would have known the stuff we have to go through to get to that point, we'd be like, I tap out.
I'm good. And so I kind of believe, in my spirit, that at all times, things are happening for me, not to me.
There
And I
you go.
in, things, no matter what it is that I'm facing, on the other side of it, it all has a plan. It all has. And so that is something that I keep. And so that song, when I'm in a rut, or I'm feeling unfair, I feel like it's unjudgely, or I'm having a conversation, after I've had my heart-to-heart conversation with God, then I'll play that song. That song is one that gets me through.
Who sings that song? Can you tell us the artist?
Let me look. Gosh,
because someone may want to adopt that song or use it or tap in and try it out. So I always like to find out who the artist is.
Go to my library. Oh my God, all these updates because I cut off my phone.
That's what happens. Well, maybe before the end, you can bring it up if it's not readily available right now.
God's Property.
Okay.
Yep, God's Property.
That's Kirk Franklin's group, right?
God's Property, yeah, I believe. Let me see. No, it's Kirk Franklin's New Nation.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have a whole gospel playlist. I have a bunch of songs.
Wow.
And then I have my my hip hop list.
Listen. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. So I have one last question before we get out of here. And the last question is talking about high elevation. I believe in it. I love watching or experiencing the high elevation of music. For example, if you go out to eat and you hear people sing, "Happy birthday to you," people will automatically come in and start singing, and before you know it, they your cousin or your best friend, you high-fiving, and everybody is celebrating together. Or you have those moments where you're not a part of the actual participation, but you're looking back and you are a spectator and you see it and you're like, wow, I enjoy that. That gives me high elevation just sitting back watching. Can you identify a song that has brought high elevation where either you were participating in or you were sitting back watching the group participate?
Elevation song. Ooh, so many. I mean, I'm an old school cat, right? I love old school jams. So like Frankie Beverly Mays, you know,
Yes.
or I let you go. And everybody just get up and it gets the moving. It has such a soulful sound to it. That is definitely one that really brings brings to mind that I love. You're watching back and everybody dun 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 dun. Everybody's on cha cha dun 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 dun. I mean, you just everybody get the moving, and I think that is one that I really love. I'm an old school. I mean, I love Stevie Wonder. As one of the
Yes.
beautiful lyrics songs ever written. I love that. Zoom.
Yes.
I'll sit back. That's not an up song, but I'll sit back. I'll bump Zoom.
That is wonderful. Look.
Beautiful lyrics.
Yes.
But when I dance with Brooklyn a lot is Gap, Yearning for Your Love.
What?
Yeah.
My heart is yearning for your love. Yes.
That's
Yes.
one of my favorites. I love that. So many, but I love the old school cat. I love the old school. I feel like that they were singing. They wasn't for clicks. They had to take time to put this record out, these lyrics. It's just different. It was a different time period, because they had to hit. You couldn't do a song today, song tomorrow, and keep getting it, keep going. And you can put it out so fast now. Back then, you had to do it because it took you a year or two before you could do it again.
And they had a grooming process. So they had somebody told them no, and they didn't take it personally, where they said, nope, you should take this out. You should do this. Now, they're telling me it's not right. And they're really taking it personal. And it's really a critique to get them to a higher state. So I think the old school really had to massage it, really had to take it from their spirit and their soul. And when we got it, it was all of that put together, and it was nothing but greatness.
Yeah, nothing but greatness. Those guys, I mean, it was different. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yes. Well, Mr. Dwayne, I've had a marvelous time. And before we get out of here, can you please share with my audience anything about your business, any social media handles, where you're located, any upcoming events, or anything you would like to share with my audience?
No, we have no events coming up just yet. I'm gonna plan something here in the fall. Not in the fall, in the spring, for some sort of a community event. But State Farm Insurance. I'm located on 7810 West End Road. If you and your family want to sit down and have any discussions about your planning needs outside of your car and home, I'm definitely there. I work with estate planners. I have financial advisors that we kind of build a team with, where we can help build and put in place your estate, so that in the event something were to occur to happen to you or your spouse or even your children, we have everything kind of lined up and your ducks in a row. And so that's it. Give me a call. My Instagram is DMurray Agency. You can always find me Sir D Murray on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but not a whole lot. And I can always be reached, in my office anytime, 702-649-9200. So, and I'm always out and about in the community. And I'm big with our fraternity. We're always doing something. So we have a clay shoot coming up in March. We have a golf tournament in May. And so I'm for sure anyone who's watching with you see us all out and about. We do shop with the Cowboy in Christmas time. We do Thanksgiving gift back. So looking forward to connect with your audience and connect with you and wrap it up. Thank you for having me. Thank you for taking the time to let me, share my musical influences and thoughts with you on the Message Revealed. And you're such a beautiful person, Hallema, always have been. Your beauty radiates from the inside, it permeates out. You just glow, and so I thank you. And keep doing what you're doing, and keep introducing a new spirit, vibe, and energy into the universe. So thank you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Dwayne. And just thank you for saying yes and coming on. And one thing I did get a chance to mention that you are a native of Las Vegas, right?
Man, born and raised, North Las Vegas, Valley View.
Yeah, so we always give our natives a big up. So I wanted to acknowledge that. I have interviewed people from other places, and I always want to give our Las Vegas people, our natives, their shine. So I thank you so much, and I would love for my audience to please put their hands together and give my friend, my brother, Mr. DwayneMurray award. Round of applause. And you know, with my women, I bow to them. My men, I salute them. So I'm gonna salute you. And I'll see you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Namaste.
And I'll see you out here in these Las Vegas streets. And I know you gave your last spiel, but I, as a respect, I like to give my guests the last word. Is there any last words you'd like to share?
Everyone, stay positive, stay blessed, and stay growing.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I will see you soon.
Absolutely. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.